Hi guys, welcome back to my channel Lush Foliage. In today's video, I wanted to talk about this beautiful plant which is called as the Photinia fraseri, also called as the red tip Photinia. Now the funny story behind this is when I had gone to the nursery, I had seen around 5 to 6 of a large plant like this, and I thought probably it is a grafted mango tree. Unfortunately, I didn't have much knowledge about this plant and I just skipped. I did not purchase. I came back home, but I somehow felt like I was wrongly identifying this plant. Probably it's some other plant. Of course, I went ahead and did a little bit of research, and I got to know that this is not a grafted mango plant, but it is a different variety called as the Photonia. So the next day itself, I quickly went to the nursery to get this plant, but unfortunately, everything was sold out apart from this small tiny plant that was kept in the corner. Again, there was a lady eyeing it, and I thought probably she's going to pick it up, but the moment she moved, I went and picked up this pot, and while I was cashing out this plant, she was kind of looking at the plant. Probably she wanted to buy it, but she was giving a second thought. Again, maybe she did not identify this plant. So luckily I was able to get hold of this plant. It's an absolutely beautiful plant. Now guys, don't go according to the size. It's very small. This plant grows around 15 to 20 feet tall if it is grown in ground, and it grows around 10 feet wide. Ideally in landscapes, this plant is used as a hedging plant because it tends to grow really huge. It also gets these beautiful white flowers. Of course, in my place, I cannot grow it up to 10-15 feet tall. It is going to be a small shrub. In a smaller pot, it's going to be small. But what I love about this plant is that beautiful red tip that you're seeing. That is what makes this plant so beautiful. Now, this red tips are not going to last on this plant forever. As and when the plant will start to mature, these red leaves will start to turn green. Because when I had purchased this plant, this was purchased probably 2 months back, and it tends to grow really fast. And over the period of time, the red leaves will start to turn green. And whenever there is new shoots coming up, that is when there will be red leaves coming back again. So if you're going to prune the leaves, the new leaves will come out red. Initially, I thought probably this is going to stay permanent, but it doesn't. Every time there is going to be a new growth, it is going to be bright red in color, and eventually it will start turning darker green in color. In 2 months time, it has grown really well. This was the initial part which had the red leaves when I had got it, but this is the new one that's coming up. So eventually that older leaf has turned green in color. So that is something very interesting about this plant, that it starts to change its color as and when the leaf tends to get mature and old. So the soil mix that I have used over here, I had to change the soil mix because it was a very clay soil mix that the nursery people were using. So I went ahead and changed the soil mix. I have used a soil mix which is 10 to 20% of coco peat. Rest is garden soil, perlite and sand, because they prefer well draining soil mix. The water should not stay stagnant in the pot. They prefer a slight amount of moisture, especially when they are young, but as and when the plant starts to grow larger, you can reduce the watering. It can go a little bit slightly underwatered, but not excessively, otherwise that will damage the plant. So when you tend to see, for a young plant, when you tend to see around 1 to 2 inches of the upper layer of soil is dry, go ahead and do a complete watering until the water starts passing through the drain hole. Now this plant does well in full sun to partial shade, but when it is a young plant, I'm offering it only morning direct sunlight until 10-11 a.m. I'm not offering any afternoon direct sunlight, otherwise the leaves will get damaged. Once it starts to grow very huge, especially if it's outdoor in soil, it can handle afternoon direct sunlight as well, which means that full sun. But when it's a young sapling like this, please do not offer afternoon direct sunlight. It will get burnt, it will get damaged. So either offer a morning direct sunlight until 10 a.m., 11 a.m. After that, give it a good amount of indirect bright light and the plant will do quite well. As I said, it tends to grow quite well. The soil has to be rich in organic matter, so you can go with any liquid based fertilizer, or you can go with vermicompost, compost, NPK. You can do it during the summers because that's when it's in their active growing period. And the propagation is pretty simple. You can do a stem cutting, but not now because this plant is very small. Once it reaches let's say around 2 to 3 feet tall, you can do a cutting of the stem. Take any part of the stem and then put it into the soil, and probably after a month or so, it will start to root. Again, the same process, you have to put a plastic over it to give it a good amount of humidity, and the plant will do quite well. Now, in 2 months' time, I haven't seen any pest issues. Only once I had seen one mealybug on it and I had cleaned it off. But ideally, it does not get affected much with spider mites or with aphids because the flowering is not much. Right now, once it starts to grow really huge, that's when the flowers tend to come, the white ones. But right now, only thing I had seen is the mealybug, which I treated at the the early stage, and after that I haven't seen anything attacking this plant. Now, talking about is this plant toxic? Yes, this plant is very toxic to humans and pets, so ensure you're keeping this plant away from the reach of small children and pets. Even while you're doing a propagation or stem cutting, ensure you're using gloves. Now guys, keeping this plant around, if you're not touching this plant, it's not toxic. The plant is only toxic if the leaves are ingested, so you have to be extremely careful. Keep this plant away from their reach at a safe distance. Other than that, this plant is amazing to grow, very easy, tends to grow really fast. So if you are looking out for a plant, because as I said, most of my plants are green in color, so I was looking out for some plants that have a little bit of different color on them, and this is going to work out really well among them. So guys, that's all about it. I hope that this video was helpful to you. If it was, please hit the like button, and if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing to it. Until then, take care, stay safe, and keep planting.